Your container started, then crashed 30 seconds later with import error. libv so 7. The root cause, your Dockerfile used from Python. 3. An unpinned tag that silently switched from Debian 11 to Debian 12, breaking a compiled dependency. Here's exactly why. Welcome to TheCodeForge. Before we dig into that production issue, let's cover Docker containerization. Docker containerization solves environment drift by packaging your application with its entire dependency graph into a portable image. The architecture is client-server. The Docker client sends commands via REST API to the Docker daemon, which manages images, containers, networks, and volumes. The Docker client is a CLI that sends commands to the Docker daemon via REST API. The daemon does all the work: building, running, networking, storage. The registry stores images. Docker Hub is the default public registry. Containers are not VMs. They share the host Linux kernel using namespaces for isolation and cgroups for resource limits. This gives near-native performance and sub-second startup, but also means a compromised container can affect the host. Installing Docker on Linux is straightforward. After installation, add your user to the Docker group to avoid sudo on every command. Then you can pull images, run containers, and manage them with essential commands. Here's the installation and basic commands. The Docker group grants root equivalent access, so in production use rootless mode or socket proxies. A Dockerfile is a recipe for building an image. Each instruction creates a layer that Docker caches. To optimize, put rarely changing instructions first so they are cached and only rebuild what changed. This Dockerfile uses the layer caching trick. Copy requirements. txt first, install dependencies, then copy the rest of the code. It also creates a non-root user for security. Multi-stage builds use a heavy builder image with all build tools, then copy only the finished artifact into a minimal runtime image. This reduces image size, attack surface, and deployment time. The builder stage installs GCC and compiles dependencies. The runtime stage copies only the installed packages, resulting in a 178 MB image instead of 1.2 GB. Containers are ephemeral, their file system dies with them. For persistent data, use named volumes managed by Docker. Bind mounts tie containers to host paths and break portability. Named volumes for production databases, bind mounts for development. Named volumes are portable and managed by Docker. Bind mounts depend on host paths. Docker Compose defines and runs multi-container applications with a single YAML file. Services reach each other by service name, and health checks ensure dependencies are ready before starting. This Compose file defines a web service, PostgreSQL database, and Redis cache. The web service depends on the database being healthy, not just started. Docker Compose handles single-host multi-container apps. Docker Swarm is built in for multi-host with simple scaling. Kubernetes is the industry standard for large-scale orchestration. AWS Fargate runs containers without managing servers. Docker Swarm turns multiple Docker hosts into a cluster. These commands initialize a swarm, deploy a service, scale it, and perform a rolling update. Production Docker is a security and reliability discipline. Pin versions, scan for CVEs, use Docker-ignore, set resource limits, implement health checks, manage secrets externally, run as non-root, and log to stdout. A Docker-ignore file excludes unnecessary files from the build context, reducing build time and preventing accidental secret leaks. This example reduces context from 847 MB to 12 MB. This is the same issue we highlighted at the start. Here's exactly why that happened. The team used from Python 3 in their Dockerfile. The Python 3 tag is mutable. It points to the latest Python 3x image. When Debian 11 was upgraded to Debian 12 in the base image, the libv library changed its ABI, causing the application to crash on startup. The fix is to pin base images by digest, not by tag. Use from Python 3 at SHA-256, ABC 123. Digests are immutable, they always point to the same image. Update the digest explicitly in CI when you want to upgrade. Using a mutable tag like Python, 3 means your base image can change without warning. Always pin by digest for production. Bind mounts tie the container to a specific host path. If the host directory is missing or not migrated, data is lost. Use named volumes instead. Depends on only waits for the container to start, not for the service inside to be ready. Use health checks with condition, service healthy. The article warns about latest, but doesn't show how to pin by digest. Use from Python 3, 12 slim at SHA-256, ABC 123, to ensure the exact base image is used, even if the tag is updated. The article mentions the Docker group grants root access, but doesn't cover rootless mode. For production, use Docker Rootless Setup Tool, SH, to run the daemon without root privileges, reducing the impact of container escapes. The article discusses health checks in Compose, but not in the Dockerfile itself. Embed, a HEALTHCHECK, instruction to let Docker automatically restart unhealthy containers without external tools. To debug tag-related issues, inspect the image digest with Docker Image Inspect. Scan images with Trivy for vulnerabilities. Use Docker logs to see startup errors. Let's run through some common interview questions. What is the difference between a container and a VM? Containers share host kernel, VMs have separate kernel. Why should you avoid latest in production? It's mutable, can silently upgrade and break your app. How do multi-stage builds reduce image size? Separate build time depths from runtime artifacts. And a few frequently asked questions. What is Docker? A tool to package apps with dependencies into portable containers. How do containers isolate processes? Using Linux namespaces and C groups. What is the difference between a tag and a digest? Tag is mutable, digest is immutable. To recap, always pin base images by digest, use multi-stage builds, prefer named volumes over bind mounts, implement health checks, and run containers as non-root. These practices prevent the most common production incidents. Ready to go deeper? Up next, Docker in production then cannot connect to Docker daemon, causes, fixes, and prevention. Find them all at TheCodeForge.io. Thanks for watching. The full article and code examples are covered in detail at TheCodeForge.io.